Okay, man. What's happening, guys? First week of 2026. My goodness, how are you? How was your weekend? Let's get it rolling. Man, 2026 started with a bang. Started with a bang. So today's title, we're going to talk about Maduro, we're going to talk about Trump, and then we're going to cross over onto the Nigeria side and talk about President Bola Tinubu and what is happening in Nigeria at the moment. Welcome, everybody. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Rich. This is Americat Live. I am broadcasting from Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. I'm going to be able to share my screen with you guys in a moment, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. The former president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, is currently in New York City, in the magistrate court in New York City, charged with drug trafficking and running a continuing criminal enterprise. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys to show you what's going on. What's going on? Where are you watching from? Sorry, let me turn my thing down here. What's happening, guys? First week of 26. Uno momento, guys. Uno momento. So let's go ahead and look at the charges that Nicolas Maduro is currently facing. I'm going to share my screen with you in a minute. Right there. Hope you guys can see that. This is actually live. Maduro is still live in a New York federal court. We are on the Wall Street Journal right now. So the headline, Maduro faces federal drug trafficking charges in the United States. So what is he being charged with? Running a cocaine trafficking enterprise after a decade-long investigation. So he's currently in the Manhattan court. Here's the thing though, Maduro says he is innocent. Let's go to the live. He's actually been tried as well with his wife Celia. And we're gonna step back after this and talk a little bit about the raid. Tell you guys what I think about it based on my own personal experience of having served in the US Army for 3 years. This is the live update right now. Maduro is still defiant. Maduro still thinks he is the president of Venezuela. Let me break it down to you, Mr. Maduro. You were the president of Venezuela. Not anymore. At least up until January 2nd, 2026, you were the president of Venezuela, but not anymore. It usually starts with defiance. They'll defy, I am still the president. I was kidnapped. I was captured and taken out of my home. I'm innocent. It usually starts that way. But you guys got to remember, Maduro was indicted in 2020. He has been wanted by the United States. He's been accused for many, many years of not only running a continuing criminal organization, but also funding terrorism. So let's look at this capture. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And we're going to cross over. Don't worry, we still got Niger coming too. We're going to talk about Nigeria. But what are the implications, guys? Go ahead and stop the share. Is it an invasion? Is it now Venezuela oil? Is now US oil? But we're going to talk about, I didn't see that coming. Did you guys see it coming? I wasn't expecting to wake up Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, to Maduro's photograph posted by Donald Trump talking about his capture. Man, 150 plus aircraft, from rotary planes to fighter jets to B-1, B-2 bombers to drones. You look at all of the US intelligence, all involved, CIA, NSA, FBI, DEA, been planning this as far back as August. There are clips of Maduro online before the. See, this was unlike the Osama bin Laden situation, this was actually an apprehension mission. They weren't going to kill the guy. They're actually going to arrest him, and they accomplished that mission. Does this send a message globally? For those who might still be out there underestimating the will and the might and the reach of the United States military. Man, for you to be picked up like that, it took 3 hours. Yes, it was months in planning, though. Months long planning. They had a mock up of Maduro's residence, similar to what they did with the bin Laden training, where they mocked up his residence where he was living in Abbottabad. Same thing with this guy. They turned off the lights in a country. Who is this that's messaging me? And then they struck in the dead of the night. Man, this is honestly, the way that I look at it, isn't it disrespectful? Just forget about the whole, everything aside. To me, this is a message that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is sending. If he can walk into a nation, a sovereign nation, whose leader has been accused of drug trafficking, primarily targeting US citizens, and for a raid like that to be pulled off in just 3 hours with no US lives lost. One of the airplanes took some hits. And this wasn't SEAL Team 6. Initially, I thought it was a SEAL Team 6, but this is actually the Delta Force. They are more deadlier than SEAL Team 6. They went in there, they infiltrated, and then they extracted Maduro from his home, threw him in a helicopter, flew him straight to the USS Iwo Jima. I've said this in the past, guys. You got to look at trends. Generally, when the United States is ready to attack, or they are serious about attacking a nation or a subject or a target, HVT, high value target, you want to pay attention to naval movements. See, the United States is just not going to deploy aircraft carriers just for the sake of deploying aircraft carriers. They've been around that region now for 6 months, just targeting, those boats, those drug boats, most of them out of Venezuela. I saw an article though that oil prices still hasn't moved as a result of this. And Trump is going on claiming there's a two-part to this. Number one, he's being charged right now for the drug trafficking charges that he's facing, a little bit of maybe human rights violations here and there. Trump is saying that Venezuela oil, at one point, Venezuela was drilling what, 3 point something barrels a day, down to what, 1 million barrels, 3.1 million barrels a day. They're now down to about 1 point something million barrels a day. That's not a, that is not trending in the right direction. Yes, Venezuela has the largest oil deposits in the world. But what use is it if it's not accessible? That's the issue with Venezuela. Largest oil deposit, just not accessible. And when you assess the oil, it's really a poor quality oil. It takes a lot to actually refine Venezuela oil. It's actually been dubbed dirty oil by experts. Only about what? One or two refineries in the United States has the resources to be able to refine Venezuela oil. So Trump is sending US oil companies out there. I think Mobil is going to be a huge part of that. Obviously, they're allied. The US is allied with Britain, so you're definitely going to see some BP, British Petroleum presence there. Man, I don't think Maduro, I said this the other day. This reminds me of what do you call it? The Noriega matter. You see, it usually starts like that. They're all usually all in defiance. I'm innocent. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I am not a leader of a continuing criminal organization. That's usually how it starts. Remember, it's only been what, 2 days? After today, reality is going to start setting for President Maduro, who still claims that he's the president of Venezuela. I'm sorry, you are not. You are not the president anymore. And the trippiest part of this, the spookiest part was when Trump in the press conference said that the United States is going to run Venezuela. How is Trump really going to do that? Because the vice president of Venezuela has now condemned, well, she condemned it super early on, the uh, the snatching of Maduro. But does she really have a choice? Because Trump is willing to go again if it comes down to it. He's willing to go again. What do you guys think of this Maduro matter? Was the Would you call it would you call it a kidnapping? What would you call it? A capture? Was it justified? Because he was given an option to surrender and he refused. And he was going on and man, you may not like the bear, but don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. He was going on challenging Trump. Come and get me. Calling the United States an imperialist country. Come get me if you can. Well, he's gotten. I honestly think, I don't know how old. Let's see. How old is Maduro? Let me go ahead and share the screen again. Let's look at Maduro age. Get this out of here. Maduro age. Can't type today. So he's 63 years old. Man, if Maduro does less than 30 years in US federal prison, I would be shocked. That's going to put him at what? 90? He may just very well spend the rest of his life in prison because you know he's not getting out. You know he's not getting out. So let's check the updates on this. See the latest updates below. Maduro's next court date. So I'm on the Wall Street Journal. Let's go ahead and click that. His next court date is set for March 17th of this year. And I wonder, are they going to keep him in New York? Or are they going to possibly move him to a federal prison? Or maybe even Guantanamo Bay? That's an option. Let's go back to the live updates. So you see, he declares innocence in the first U.S. court hearing. Oh my goodness. So who's going to represent this guy? Who's planning on representing this guy? I think Julian Assange's lawyer. Maduro's lawyer signals possible challenge to his arrest. So if you guys remember, Julian Assange made news during the Barack Obama presidency. The lawyer that represented Julian Assange is the same lawyer representing Nicolas Maduro. I wonder if they're going to keep him and his wife together or they're going to keep them separate. Let's see. What is Okay, so it says yeah, Maduro's wife Celia Flores also pleads not guilty. She identified herself, just like her defiant husband, as the First Lady of the Republic of Venezuela. And when the judge asked her to identify herself, you were, you are not anymore. When asked for her plea to the charges, Celia Flores said she is not guilty and completely innocent. I mean, you weren't going to expect them to plead guilty. It's usually how arraignments are. You plead not guilty, and then you are tried. But I don't think that the United States would have gone to the lengths that they went if they didn't have the the evidence to put this guy away for the rest of his life. Some people might be saying, it's just an oil grab. It's just an oil grab. Oil has a lot to do with it, for sure. Let's not be ignorant. We know that the United States is interested in Venezuela oil. And according to Donald Trump, he said that the United States actually built the oil infrastructure of Venezuela and Venezuela throughout US companies. So a part of it is oil. Let's not kid ourselves. That's a huge part of it. But the drug trafficking is also a huge part. I'm telling you, the federal system, there's evidence. There is evidence. And this wasn't a, to me, I'm glad that it did not end up the way it ended for Osama bin Laden. I mean, Osama bin Laden's case, I think the majority of the people were okay with the result of that raid. But had Maduro's raid had it gone left, then you have that narrative of the United States government going around assassinating leaders of sovereign nations. But I'm glad that he was captured. He looked in great health. And then it's just a matter of time. You know, this is going to play out in federal court. And as you guys know, the federal court system in the United States is a public court system. So 2026 is going to be a dramatic year as far as like content goes. It's going to be broadcast in front of the world to see, unless there's some sort of law that's passed, but this is going to play out live in front of the world, this Maduro case. So we're just gonna have to sit and wait. I mean, March 17th, you're looking at what, 2.5 months from now, he's due back in court. I think by then he's gonna see in what's called a discovery. A discovery is when the US government tables all of the evidence against him. And then maybe they'll set a trial date. Upon seeing that discovery, he's going to have a choice to make. Is he going to plead guilty to the charges, or is he going to want to fight the charges? That comes after the discovery. But I'm telling you right now, I don't see this ending well for Maduro. Uh, he's right up there with, at least what they're charging him with is just right up there with what's that drug trafficker's name from Mexico? El Capo. What's his name? El Chapo. That's who Maduro is up there with. So let's go on a wall page and on the front page here and see. I know China has said something about this. Another thing, huge mistake that I feel that Maduro did was bringing in Iran. He was literally rubbing shoulders and aligning with the enemies of the United States. You know what I mean? This is an embarrassment. I think part of the mission is for Trump to just embarrass this guy. It is probably the most disrespectful. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. You know? So obviously the world is going to come and condemn it. China has already done that. Russia is out there. They've also condemned the attack on Maduro. But only time will tell. Criminal charges. Like I said, the indictment was first brought in 2020 and was recently expanded in connection with Maduro's capture and extradition to the US. So prosecutors allege Maduro and his circle engaged in a narco-terrorism conspiracy, working with major cartels and trafficking thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States. So let's look at the specifics of this allegations and indictments. So we got the narco-terrorism conspiracy, conspiracy to import cocaine into the US, possession and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. That's from The Guardian. violence and corruption. So the Southern District Court of New York is the one behind that's actually going to try the guy. Um, he's also tied to the Cartel de los Soles. Man, good luck to Maduro on this one. Uh, I, I just don't see I just don't see a path to victory. I just don't see a pathway to him getting out of this. If you look at the time and the effort and the resources that was deployed to bring this guy to justice, just for him to walk away scot-free, I just don't see that happening. So let's move over to our very beloved Nigeria. Like I said in the opening of this episode today, 2026 started with a bang, and Nigeria is no exception. It's happening again. Another attack, Niger State. You see, Tinubu again has ordered military, police, and DSS to hunt down terrorists behind the Niger State attack that happened a couple of days ago. How many times are we going to see the condemnations and Tinubu ordering military to step in and stop and hunt down terrorists? How many times? Isn't this like it's starting to become like a recurring theme. Let's look at what happened. Bola Ahmed Tinubu directed the Minister of Defense, Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the Department of State, DSS, to track down and apprehend the perpetrators of the Kasuan Daji attack in Niger State. You guys know that Niger, one of the biggest issues or the biggest challenges facing Niger State is it's just too big. The land mass, let's look at the land mass of Niger. There's just not that many resources out there. As far as like law enforcement resources, land mass of Niger State. It's the largest. Niger State, central northern Nigeria is the largest state in the country by land area. 76,363 square kilometers, making it the biggest of Nigeria's 36 states by area. For context, this is about 8 to 9% of Nigeria's total land area and larger than many states by significant margin. So let's say compared to Lagos, how many Lagos states can fit into Niger? Oh man. Okay. For you Lagosians like me, think about it for a second. Take Lagos State. You can fit about 21 Lagos states easily into Niger State. That is the problem. It's just too big. It's too big to police. You know, I reached out to somebody in Nigeria when this Maduro thing happened. And what's the sentiment like back home? Should Tinubu be worried? Should Tinubu watch his back? Is the United States potentially going to come for Nigeria the way they went for Maduro? It was actually split. Some people are saying, Nigerians are nervous right now. The leadership of Nigeria, super nervous at the moment, based on what's going on with Nigeria. But Nigeria doesn't have the issue with like narco-terrorism and drugs and weapons, crimes tied to weapons like that, like Maduro does. But how many times are we going to call for the insecurities to stop? These guys are bold. These Niger State terrorists. Could this be a retaliation to what happened in Sokoto? Like I said, we just can't keep on condemning and condemning the attacks. Um, this really needs to stop. Um, there definitely needs to be peace and security, obviously, in Nigeria. But only time will tell to see what happening, to see what happens this year. First week, the year is still new, the year is still fresh. And I will be doing more of like this cross-border analysis going forward. I'm just not going to be limited to Nigeria anymore as far as content goes. I'm going to bring you a little bit of US market news. We're going to talk about business. As you guys can see, I'm in a Wall Street Journal. A lot of these topics we'll be discussing on the program, from business to the economy to tech, market and finance, real estate, personal finance, maybe a little bit of health and style. But going forward, that's part of our content strategy is to start blending both markets, as like the United States and Nigeria markets. Okay, so just wanted to talk about that today. We'll see. We'll see how the Trump Maduro situation plays out, and I hope to bring you guys my analysis as this goes forward. Okay, so thank you guys. I really do appreciate you, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.